Welcome to the Payback Team Training Call. This is part 2 of last week's training on how to track your business in 2026. So let me share my screen here. Right here, this is what we went over last week, the appointment tracker. And then here's your expense tracker that we went over last week. The other thing that we want to talk about is the carriers. This is all of the carriers that you can work with. And I set up a spreadsheet here to be able to track your logins, the links to the site, your help numbers. If you ever need help with a carrier, you can have that right here at your instant access. You can put your agent number, your writing number for the carriers right here, what agency you're with, obviously. If you have a PIN, some carriers require a PIN for the portal. You can put that right here. Username, password, all of that fun stuff goes right here. Here's a telephone interview because this carrier sometimes, well, not anymore, but they used to do telephone interviews. F&G does it as well. So write down, well, this one is, I put in here the email for support. But there is a number that like a telephone interview number. You can put that right here. Here's your new business number, new business email. So you can just, and this is just a generic site here. So some of these are not updated, right? So as you get them, you can put them in here. And that's kind of the purpose of this, is to just keep track, right? And if you don't have these carriers, you can just delete them. That one is pretty quick and easy. And then this one over here is your client list. Now, since we're brokers, we have access to multiple carriers and they all have different writing numbers. As you can see, we got the carrier sheet for that. But instead of going back into the portal to search each and every client for, if they call in and they have a question about their policy, you don't want to go try to find where their policy is at through the carrier, right? You may have a CRM that holds all of that information as well. Great. But I like to have a spreadsheet here that will track, my monthly IP, issue paid business, and monthly submitted business as well. And then that way I also have all of the client information all in one spot. Now, once you start selling, 20,000 or more in issue paid premium per month, you want to hire like an assistant or an admin. And you can hire a VA for that. And my VA will actually train your VA if you do want to hire one. So this sheet is actually beneficial for that because now you can just click on share and this is full. This is live all the time. And you can just have them, all of these sheets right here are going to be access to that VA or your assistant. And so they can take care of all of your carrier calls. I mean, I think I've called a carrier maybe one time, maybe twice in the last year because my assistant takes care of all of that. If a client calls in, they go through my assistant first. If they need to talk to me, then she will put them on my calendar for them to talk to me. If there's an annual review that comes up, my CRM will notify the client. It'll notify the VA, my admin, and then it'll notify me as well. And then my admin will call that client to get them on my schedule to do a policy review at the end of the year. But we'll just kind of go through this real quick. Here's your goal. Here's today's date. It automatically updates every single day. You don't have to go in here and update it. Here's your goal, and you can change this, okay? Here's how much you need to sell per week to reach your goal. Well, right here is your goal, okay? This is Road to Hall of Fame. So Hall of Fame is actually 400,000. So you can change that, and you can see the goal changes right here. This is how much you have left. This is how much you need to sell per week. This is how much you need to sell per day in issue paid premium. Okay, this is how many weeks are left in the year. This is, this one is not today's date. This is the goal date. And this is today's date right here. So the goal date is 12/31/2026. So by the end of this year, we want to hit Hall of Fame. This is how much we have left to do that, okay? And this is the amount that we have sold so far per year. Now, obviously, there's nothing in here. There is a number over here, but I'll show you how that works. So essentially what we're going to do, once you have a client, let's say right after you submitted the business, what you're going to do is come right in here and enter that information in here. You can put in here Oscar the Grouch. Who's the insured? It's going to be Oscar. Now, the reason why this question is in here is because what happens if this person is the owner of the policy, but they're buying a policy for their mom? Then you can put in here Oscar's mom, right? The date of birth, 9/15/1983. Okay? And then right here, you could put the address in here. 123 Main Street, apartment 2, Omaha, Nebraska, 68118. The insured cell, 402-254-5667. Maybe there's a wife or a spouse or an other insured on there. Maybe it's mom. Maybe it's Oscar's mom. 402-257-8557. Email. Let's widen this up a little bit. 123 email, can't spell today, @gmail.com. Relationship to the insured. Now, this is talking about the beneficiary here. Okay, so maybe this is the daughter. Okay, maybe it's daughter and son. Okay, now who's the beneficiary? We're going to put in here Jorge Ina, the daughter. We'll just put Jorge as the son. And Guadalupe, the Grouch, for the last name. And then the carrier, maybe we write Americo. And then policy number, AM123, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then the date we submitted the policy. That's important because what if it didn't get issued yet, right? For some reason, a lot of them are simplified issued, but what if they didn't get issued right away? We can come back here and look and say, okay, we submitted it on 1/23/2026, right? You can use this sheet as your work of business as well, right? It'll keep track of your business. You can put in here date issued. Now, if it hasn't issued yet, it doesn't have a date, right? So if you have 4 or 5 clients in here and you have one date of issue, then you know that you have to follow up on these other 3 clients, right? Because it hasn't issued yet. So we need to make sure the policies issue. Once they issue, you can put in here a date. And let's say it issued on 1/30/2026. Maybe you submitted it on the 23rd, but they didn't want that policy to, they didn't want to pay for it until the 30th. So you could put date issued 1/30, right? Now maybe their draft date is the 30th. So we're going to put in here 1/30. The face value, and we'll say it's going to be, spread this out a little bit. Let's say they wanted 300,000. Accidental? Nope, not on this one. If they do put accidental or want accidental on that policy, you could put 300,000. Okay, now this one is the type of policy or the term length, right? So here's the deal on this one. If it's a term length, we want to know the term length, right? If it's a term policy, is it a 10-year term, 20-year term, 30-year term? If it's an IUL, any other type of policy, it's going to be a whole life policy, right? So if it's a whole life, I would put, whole life, FEX. If it's an IUL, I would just put IUL. If it's a term, I would say term, 20-year. Okay. That way, a year from now, when I come back in here real quick, I can just go and say, okay, she's got a term policy. Now the other thing is this, let's say that she calls in and she's like, hey, I want to change my beneficiary. I need to know exactly where that policy is at. So I can come in here, oh, she's got an Americo. Now I can go into the portal right away and know exactly where to find it. I don't have to search around for it in the portal. I have the policy number right here. Okay, I know exactly right away that it's a 20-year term. What if she just calls me up and says, hey, I need to know something about my policy. How much cash value can I gain from that? All I have to do is look at the portal or look at the spreadsheet. I don't even have to go in the portal because I know it's a 20-year term and it doesn't grow any cash value. So I can answer the question right away. And on top of that, I don't even need to talk to her. My admin can talk to her and say, oh, it's a 20-year term policy. It doesn't grow cash value. She doesn't even need to put her on my calendar because it doesn't grow any cash value. The question is answered. The problem is solved. We can move on, right? That's the benefit of having an assistant because they put time back into your schedule. You don't have to talk to the clients on questions that are unnecessary, right? To the client, every question is necessary, and we want to respect that. But that's why we pay a VA to take care of that. I pay my virtual assistant $6.50 an hour. She's in the Philippines, and she is phenomenal. She's been working for me for 3 years now, right? So $400, $500 a month is very, very affordable for somebody that's making 20 grand a month, 15 grand a month, even 10 grand a month. It puts time on your schedule so that you can focus more on selling and helping more families, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in the monthly premium. Remember, this is a term policy, right? So $100. If it was $200, now it goes to $2,400, okay? If it's $89, it's $1,068. This is what you're going to get paid on. It's what you make per year, the issue paid premium. Obviously, you're going to get paid 75% of that right up front, right? But also, this part right here goes against your goal. Okay, so you can see right here, here's the 1,068. 1,068 comes off your goal. That's how much you have left. This is how much you need to sell per week, right? So let's say I have another one that's 125. Down here, this one is 240. Down here, this one is a $3,500. Maybe it's an IUL. But obviously that's not going to be the target premium, right? So the target premium, because it's an IUL, is going to go over here. Now, if a number gets put in here, that's going to override this number. So watch, let's say the target premium is $6,700. So now that gets counted as the yearly premium, okay? And then over here, maybe you have maybe a final expense policy that's $560 for a year, okay? Maybe you have an accidental that's $240, okay? And maybe you have $3,600 or a $360 one, a super small one, right? No, these are actually pretty big ones. I'm doing monthly here. So let's go down to 120. Let's take this one down to 80. We'll take this one down to 120, right? Okay, so this looks more like an average month for an average producer, right? So if you look right here, you sold 15,988. You only need to sell 7,680 per week now for every week in order to hit this goal. Okay, because you already sold, you doubled that in 1 week. So as you sell, it's going to calculate how much you need to sell per week in order to hit your goal of 400,000. You're already 16,000 in the good, right? This goal is going to go down per day as well. So let's say over the course of the next 6 months, you sell 300,000, right? What is, I'll just put the number in here just to kind of show you guys. So that's like 25,000. Now let's say, now this number isn't this week. I'm just kind of showing you guys that over the course of the next 6 months, you guys did another 300,000. Right here, look, now you only have to sell 1,680 per week in order to hit your goal of 400 because you're almost there, right? You only have to sell 400 a day to hit your goal by the end of 12/31/26. Okay? Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah? Okay, cool. All right. So that is how you work this. Now, this is how you keep track of them right here. Okay. Once you sell this, it needs to issue, right? So the way I look at it is if I've been paid on this policy, that policy is issued because most carriers won't pay you until the policy issues. Once it issues, I click that button. Once I'm paid, I click that button. Now I know I'm issue paid. Now what I want to do is I want to verify this with FFL, okay? And you can go on the gateway to verify all of your policies, meaning that you can see which carriers you've sold a policy at. You can actually see your whole downline, okay? I'm not going to show you on that. If you guys want me to show you on that, then I'll do a training that's not recorded that will show you that. So you can verify that. Once I verified that FFL, my IMO, has that policy accounted for, then I'll click on verify. Now let's say that they 2-3 months down the road, they call in or I get an email from the carrier that they canceled, then what I'm going to do is click this button. And what I like to do is I'll turn this red. That way I know that this policy is canceled. Now, if you want to, you can actually, well, a lot of carriers, or I'm sorry, a lot of IMOs will actually still give you credit if they call in and cancel 2-3 months down the road. So this still counts towards your goal. Now, if they call in and they cancel within 30 days, you may just want to delete this because then it doesn't count towards your goal. Okay, so if you delete this, just take it out of there, now you're good to go. Now the formula obviously is going to be missing, but all you have to do is just take this and go back that way, and it's right back in there. Just drag it up. Grab this, drag it up. Okay. Okay, any questions on how to do the client list tab? No? Pretty self-explanatory? Okay. Allocations. Okay. Now, I read a book one time called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. And I spoke about this on the last training just a little bit. This is a must read. You can listen to it on Audible if you guys have Audible, but it is a must read. If you've never ran a business before, it's a simple book that you can learn super easy techniques on how to track your business and how to track your finances as well, how to allocate funds to different accounts. Now, he uses a different account system. Once you get better at tracking your funding for your business and your personal life, you can narrow it down to less accounts. But the bank, they charge you like what, $2 a month for an account? So, and they want you to open up accounts. So if you go in there and tell them, I need a checking account for income, for lead spend, for operating expenses, and a savings account for profit, taxes, and large expenses, they're going to be like, okay, no problem, right? Now, these accounts right here are savings accounts. So these are money where it's going to be put away, right? And so if you read this book, it'll tell you how much percentages are supposed to be allocated to the accounts. And it's going to tell you exactly what your targets are, which are these right here. Now, do you start at the targets? No. You start small. But you're going to look at your expenses first and figure out, where am I spending the most of my money at? Where am I spending the least of my money at? Where do I need to spend the majority of my money at? And where do I need to spend the least of my money at? And here's the deal. Most people at the end of the year, their accountant will say, well, you made $120,000 of profit, $200,000 of profit, $400,000 of profit. And the business owner is like, okay, where's the profit? Where's that money at? Right? So this will help you figure out where that money is. And so that's why the book is called Profit First, is because you're going to pay yourself first, because you're going to take profits first and then allocate your funds later. Okay? And he shows you, it goes into detail on that. So I'm not going to get into detail on that. I'll let you guys read the book or listen to the book so you understand it. But the way this spreadsheet is set up is for personal and is for business. Now let me explain these. These right here, this is a savings account for taxes. Why do people that work a day-to-day job get a refund at the end of the year? Because their business, their boss that they work for, their company that they work for, automatically takes out taxes for them. Now, at the end of the year, they get a refund because they've actually paid more taxes in than what they've need to pay in. So the government gives them a refund check. Now, is the government always right? Who knows? They're not going to go check them. Why? Because they get a refund. They're happy to get the money. So nobody's going to check them. But I'm guarantee you, I'm a human being. I make a ton of mistakes. Just ask my wife. I guarantee you, other IRS agents don't always get it right either. So they're probably leaving money on the table. Now, as a business owner, we need to pay our taxes quarterly. Now, sometimes you can get away with paying them yearly, but you have to talk to your accountant about that. I am not an accountant. But by doing this and putting money into a savings account, you can create your own refund. You can always have your money ready to go when your accountant says this is what you owe to the tax man. So right here, it's showing 30%. Will you be at 30%? No, but it's a good number to start with, right? You want to get down to 20%. Here, leads, 50% goes to leads when you're starting your business. Why? Because the leads are the gas for your business. This is a vehicle to get you to your financial goals. If you don't have gas to get there, how are you going to get there? Right? I would rather have more money for gas and less to feed myself, less food, and live off the minimum of food than I would to be able to, not be able to feed my family or feed me, right? As long as we have the basic necessities, we're good to go, right? All we need is food, clothing, and shelter. Maybe a little bit of entertainment at a time, right? So if I'm starting my business, at least half of my money is going into the gas for the car, right? This right here, this goes into large expense savings. This would be like your business trips, convention. We have convention coming up here in just 2 weeks. Other conventions throughout the year, right? Maybe some extra training by Tony Robbins or whatever, right? This would be like large expenses, flights, hotels, meal costs, operating expenses, okay? This is paying your admin. This is paying for new licenses for the states. This is paying your O&E insurance. This is doing anything that it takes to operate your business. Okay, this could be marketing, right? A marketing account to help grow marketing in your business to get new agents coming in. And then personal checking. Now, this is income. This doesn't mean it's profit. The business owner has to take income as well because he has to live, right? It's like paying an employee. That's an expense to the business. This is your income that goes to your personal checking. Now, over here, when you get a checking account, the income account is a pass-through account. This is where all of the deposits come into. There's no debit cards for this. There is no checkbooks for this. You're not going to spend any money out of this account. twice a month on like the 5th and the 25th, what you're going to do is make transfers. So you'll look into this income account, and then you're going to put the number right here. And let's say you have $8,559 in there. That's going to reallocate and change all the numbers right here. Now you know all I need to do is move money. Okay. Now me, I go to church. I like to pay tithing every single month. And so 10% comes off the top of mine. So $855 goes into my tithing account. After tithing, that's what I have left. Now, all of these numbers are based off of that number right there. So the first thing I'm going to do is pay myself. I'm going to pay the profit for the business. Then I'm going to pay my taxes. That's going into that savings account. Then I'm going to pay my leads. This is going into my lead spend account. Now I have gas for the vehicle. Now I'm going to put a little bit away every single month for large expenses like traveling, plane flight or flights for going wherever, hotel rooms, operating expenses. And then I got to pay the bills, right? I got to pay my employee. Well, I just happen to be my employee. Okay, so I got to pay myself. Now, that right here now goes into a personal income account. Same thing as up here in the income. It goes into a personal income account that's now a pass-through account, right? Just the money from the business goes in there, flows through, and then I disperse it throughout these other accounts. Now, my family likes to go on vacation, so I put a little bit away for that. My family also has Christmas and birthdays, so I put a little bit away from that. By the time they come up, now I have a little bit for Christmas and birthdays. Now, we all have reoccurring expenses. Recurring, not reoccurring. Recurring expenses. This would be like mortgages, rents, utilities for the house, gas for the car, insurances, Netflix, credit card payments, right? If it's on a reoccurring expense, I always put it on this account. That way, I don't even have to mess with it. It just comes out every month. All I got to do is make sure that money is in there every single month by the time that bill comes. Then we all have needs and entertainment, right? You want to go to the movies. You want to eat out every night, every once in a while. You want to go hang out with some friends, go shoot some pool, go down to quick speakeasy. I don't know. This is for needs and expenses. Maybe you need some new clothes, right? Maybe you need some new shoes to go running, what have you, right? That would go and come out of this account right here. And then right here, you also have personal large expenses as well. Maybe you own a house and you have some house repairs. You own a car, you need to put some money away for repairs for the car. So that's where this would go. So I encourage you, and then eventually what you want to do is open an LLC. And the reason why is, in Mike Michalowicz will talk about why in more detail, but one of the reasons why is because you get more tax benefits when you're the owner of a business. You can be a sole proprietor, but you have more liability that way in case somebody sues you, and you get a lot less tax benefits. You get more benefits when you have an LLC. With an LLC, it's a limited liability corporation, and you can designate how you want it to be taxed. You want it to be taxed as a C Corp, as an S Corp. Your accountant can go over all of that with you. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys today.